Good afternoon and welcome back to Restaurant Review. Today is July, look, there we go. This is June 20th, the first day of summer, 2012. Our 13th year of being on TV here in New Orleans Access, bringing you the newest restaurants and sometimes musicians for you to enjoy with us the culture of our city. And we don't fail to deliver when the restaurant comes, so we're prepared to bring you something new. As you know, we've had problems getting musicians lately since Katrina. In the old days, they were coming out, they were lined up, we had too many. Nowadays, I guess with the advantage of YouTube or the advancement of YouTube and Facebook and all these other things, they all do their own marketing, their own networking and all through social media. So we've become the stepchild. But anyway, so because of that, we have a few talented artists that are on archive tape. We have a lot more that I haven't been able to dig into, but we will in the future to give you a little bit more variety because we have to take them off of the old media and put them on the new media. But meanwhile, you don't want to hear all that technology garble. We're going to listen to one of the ladies who's been on our show. Her name is Ashley Beach. It's kind of an exotic singer, some of the stuff she does. Some of her songs are much longer than what we normally allow, so we do have to sometimes truncate those, and we apologize for that. But it's just a matter of being able to keep them in the show. She does do 3 songs, though, as you know, our normal format. We're going to go ahead and take a listen to and a watch of Ashley Beach, and then we'll introduce our chef in his new restaurant after the musical interlude. Let's take a look at Ashley.
The song is entitled Thank You.
Shine bright with the light from above. You may not know where you're going, you just go with the flow. Everywhere that you're going, you are showing your glory. Tenderness, wisdom, empathy, and insight, honesty and purity, and your belief in me. Grace, thank you for your beauty and your beautiful way. Thank you for today. And every time we play,
Okay, that was Ashley Beach. That was kind of nice and subtle, but sometimes she has them. We were discussing it. She goes a little beyond that, but that was very, very nice. We enjoyed it. So she'll do 2 more for us before the end of the day. But let's get to our meat and potatoes. We've got a brand new restaurant for you, a few months old. We'd love to say it's around the corner from, but it's really not. It's straight down the block, over the overpass and through the woods. No, right here on South Jefferson Davis Parkway by our studio, down near in between Banks and Tulane Avenue on South Jefferson Davis Parkway off of Canal Street. And the name of it is Dmacs Bar and Grill. As you know, we've had a trend, one of the newest trends as went with downscaling of fine dishes to burgers and stuff. We have also had upscaling of bar food. And we've brought a couple of those to you already this season and last year. So this is a similar situation here. And we want to go ahead and introduce the executive chef, and his name is Clayton KINDRED. Welcome to the show, Clayton.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Good. Tell us a little bit about, first of all, let's talk about your background, and then we'll talk about the restaurant. We always like to know whether our chefs are natives or not.
Yes, sir. I was raised here.
Okay.
Went to school here, École Classique, when it was on Napoleon Avenue.
Oh, yeah.
And went to high school at Holy Redeemer College across the lake in Lacombe.
I was going to say, yeah, okay. Great.
So I have deep roots here. And I also have, my father's side of the family is from Texas, so I also have some of the Texas background also.
Okay. Well, tell us, how did you get interested in food and eventually cooking for a living?
I come from a kind of a big family, and we were always, looking for, hungry actually. So I mean, that's kind of, basically I got interested in food. But my grandmother was actually a extraordinary French cook, and going way back. And my grandparents practiced farm to table techniques long before they were, popular as they are now.
Wow.
And composting. Everything grown fresh, picked fresh, and then the preparation, of course, was just an extraordinary process of picking and shelling and
right.
putting things by for the off seasons, and the composting was an art into itself. We used every single item that wasn't used that was organic went into the garden, including eggshells and coffee grounds and that type of thing, and so we really practiced as part of daily life. The farm to table and the green complete utilization type.
So they would be
techniques.
right, really, in the centerpiece of today's food delivery and preparation. From what
except they were doing this 40, 50 years ago. So.
Right, and I think anyone who's had family gone that far back, especially here in Louisiana, in different smaller towns, that's exactly what they did. They depended on the land to provide their food, so that's the advantage. Their marketplace was right there in their yard, so they had to use fresh. It wasn't a matter of okay, I'm going to use fresh today and frozen tomorrow. It was all a matter of what was available and how well they could use it, and that's how so everyone's grandmothers, especially in our state, in the back, seemed to be phenomenal cooks that were willing to pass it on to anyone, grandchildren that would be interested. I think the mothers might not have been as so attentive to it.
That's absolutely true.
And it I know my mom would
kind of
never.
skipped a generation.
My grandmother, unfortunately, she passed away early, but I know she was like that. Whereas my mom, no, nothing to do. That was her job, and she didn't want to be bothered training, teaching, anything like that. So, anyway, enough of that nostalgia. Let's talk a little bit about Dmacs. I know I asked you when we came to the restaurant, at least the grill, to try out the food. How was the name derived? Because it's a great little name. It's easy to remember, and it's got a great sound. But I know it has some meaning behind it. Why don't you tell us what was the derivative of that?
My boss is, his name is David, and it comes from his name.
So the D is for Dave, or David.
The McGee, David McGee, and so it's kind of a shortened version of his name.
Okay.
And it sounds really good. It sounds like what we're trying to build is kind of an iconic, food and night spot. So the name sounded really kind of good and catchy. So
it's very. You're correct. Catchy is a real good word. In short, easy to remember. Maybe the spelling might not be the easiest, but it's just like it's phonetic, so it should be very, very easy for anyone to find. Now let's talk about how long have y'all been open. This particular place has unfortunately been a lot of things. A lovely two-story building, and the downstairs quarters have tried to be restaurants in the past, but part of the deal was they never would put the commitment, whether it's the owner or the landlord, to the renovation of the place. Many times it did not have air conditioning, so we have those long hot summers. They go on way beyond 3 months. So people just could not, it was not a comfortable environment. So when these gentlemen went in, I'm sure they part of their deal was actually to upscale it to really not only the exterior before they would paint it, but the interior is really delightful, very, very comfortable from the air conditioning situation, so you don't have a problem. It's just a great look to it. So it's a real wonderful addition to the neighborhood community, Mid-City particular, because we a lot of our stuff had been in Mid-City, has been on Carrollton, but we're now finding more and more of the little offshoots and situations like this where we can return to the whole idea of neighborhood groceries, or if not groceries, certainly neighborhood restaurants. Now, so about how long ago did y'all actually open for business?
We've been open since about March, around mid-March,
okay,
maybe a little before that, and it's been a work in progress. So
good.
It's but we put a tremendous amount into the. Our partners put a tremendous amount of money into the infrastructure of the building, which is very important.
Of course.
And it was, to be quite frankly, it was kind of a dump beforehand, and it took a tremendous amount of heartache and money to get it right. But
sure.
I think we're getting there now.
I agree. I certainly uphold and applaud him for that, because I think that was part of the problem with several of the others. They would just go in and just take over what they had done before. And like I say, by not actually recognizing the problems of the infrastructure, many of them failed very early or didn't even worry about it more than like 6 months a bit. So it's had numerous things, but we're hoping this is going to be a long stay, because now it's, like I said, not only a nice looking place, it's got a good food basis, and as we're saying, not just being a bar, being an upscale bar with regard to the food that's being presented. Okay, now let's talk about your days of operation. Are you closed any day at all?
Well, we were open 7 days, 24 hours, and then
wow.
During the summertime, I mean, the kitchen itself is not open all night. It's open until basically 10 on the weekdays and a little bit later on the weekends. And we tried closing, actually, the kitchen in 1 or 2 days, and we had such a demand that we'd have to stay open.
Wow. So now, what meals, when do you start in the morning serving food?
So we have a really nice lunch. It starts every day at 11 o'clock.
Okay, 11.
Except on the weekends, but that's going to change when football season starts. Right now, for the summertime, we're trying to just open the kitchen in the evenings on the weekend.
Okay.
But what's going to happen, though, but we have a great lunch specials that change every day during the week, and we open 11 o'clock, and yeah, very prompt service. So we get the food out in a hurry for you.
Good. Now, the dinner menu is different than the luncheon menu?
No, it's absolutely the same.
Oh, okay.
Actually, the lunch special actually...
That's what I thought. But now I thought I misunderstood you saying that the lunch menu was different than the dinner menu. So it is the same, and that's the important
One thing different is that we do have a lunch special every day, and we just run that all day until we run out, because it's a freshly prepared item. So,
and we'll talk about that as we go through, because I think we have at least one, if not two, on in our pictures. So we'll certainly highlight the other days and specify which one of those entrees are for that particular day. Well, we always start off with appetizers, and because it is a bar, they're going to be appetizer heavy, which there's nothing wrong with that, because it's just as easy to graze through appetizers and find a complete meal as opposed to having the standard entree with something before it. So he's got some, just like that great name on the restaurant, he's got some unusual titles and some maybe we'll ask the definition of some of the appetizers, but the main thing is actually what's inside. So let's take a look at our first one. And this is something that you say, well, heck, why would this be an appetizer? This is, if I remember the title, you correct me, Chef, if I'm wrong, it was Dmacs Donuts. Is that right?
That's absolutely correct.
Tell us about this, and why is this an appetizer and not a dessert?
Well, this is a savory appetizer, and it's basically crab and coconut. And it's got some Louisiana seasonings, of course, in it. And it's also served with a white French remoulade. And it's a savory donut, and it's in puff pastry, so it's slightly sweet, but it also has a savory element to it. and made with fresh Louisiana crab meat.
The crab meat is actually stuffed on the inside of the donut.
Yes, it is. It's rolled. It's almost. It has kind of the format of what a cinnamon roll would look like.
Okay.
So it's rolled, and so where the cinnamon would be, you would have this
it would be crab meat.
Crab and coconut mixture, yes.
Cool. And then it's deep fried?
Yeah, it is. It's lightly fried, and that raises a pastry. And like a donut would be. It's like a donut is basically fried pastry, and this is the same principle.
The only thing we don't have is the sugar, which is great.
No sugar. It's more of a Louisiana seasoning to top it with.
To top it off. But they're just as tasty without the dipping sauce. But, of course, it's always nice to have a dipping sauce. So what a great icebreaker for your dining companion or friends. Tell them we're having Dmacs donuts for appetizers and give it a try. I think you'll like it. Okay, the next one, I believe, also has an unusual title. Let's see if it's the one I'm thinking about. We've got them in the right order on that. No, this is. Go ahead and tell. That's not what I'm thinking. Tell us about what we have seeing here. Chef.
Well, these are what we call our beautiful uglies.
That's it. That was the title.
And
it's kind of paradoxical, so I said. But let's talk about what are all the beautiful uglies.
Well, basically, it's a Caribbean style seafood beignet, and what happens is it's like a seasoned force meat, and what happens is when they're fried, lightly fried, there's no batter, no breading, and they come out a little rough looking, so they're a little ugly. But when you taste them, they have a beautiful taste to them.
They have wonderful taste. Can you tell the folks what seafood are actually contained in the beignet?
Yes, it's actually trout and crawfish and shrimp. And it has your Trinity in there, basically, in some form. And it has the classic Caribbean seasonings, jerk-style seasonings in it.
Well, that's what I noticed. I knew it had some, which is unusual. Usually when they talk about seafood, it's maybe crab, maybe shrimp, or crawfish and shrimp. But the addition of the fish, I think, really adds a great flavor to it and keeps along those lines. Now, let's talk about the, once again, you have dipping sauces, whether not necessarily necessary, but also just something enhancement. Beautiful colors. Why don't we talk about the one on the left, that lovely mint green?
Well, the one on the left is once again, that's our French remoulade, and that's really, it's unusual. It's not your standard remoulade. It's more of a European style.
Okay.
And it's got capers and cornichons and shallot and chervil and fresh mayonnaise based.
Yeah.
And the other one is we consider that our appetizers and everything stands alone without the sauce, but as you said, it does enhance it a little bit. So, and the one on the right is it's a red pepper chipotle aioli.
Wow.
And that's smoked, of course. Smoke roasted jalapenos and slow roasted red peppers, and that's also in a mayonnaise type base.
And again, both have a little bite, but different types of bite to them.
But no real burn. Nothing that's going to really upset you.
Not a hot burn. No,
right.
Very good. And like I say, once again, that's your pleasure to taste either one or none. The beignets themselves are so enjoyable with the composition of the seafood. So there you go. If you can remember the donuts and the uglies, I know we have some guy locally does commercial with the uglies, but I think these are much better, certainly much better tasting. All right, now this next one really is a great looking and great tasting appetizer. And if you notice so far, we've had kind of a trend of Caribbean kind of style or flavor, which is so popular. We try and go to the islands at the end of August for Katrina every year, so I'm all excited about that particular flavor, and especially in the summertime. I think they're cool, delightful, refreshing, as opposed to some of our maybe heavier fares. So it's a perfect time to go and try it. Let's take a look at our third one. These are skewers, I believe, and got a great name on this one and a great taste. Let's see if we can bring. Yeah, I know this is chicken, and give us the name on it. Another cute name on it.
Well, these are chocho chicken skewers, and they're basically kind of a Asian street food style. It's pecan smoked bacon and marinated chicken, and pretty simply grilled. Like I said, in an Asian street style format, and they basically also they're served with an Asian style dipping sauce, which is very it's very. It's very rich and intense, but it doesn't. There's no burn to it, but it's fresh roasted sesame oil, fresh ginger, fresh shallot, sambal, those type of ingredients, and it's also infused with a red pepper jelly that's made for myself and made for the restaurant across the lake. So it's also, we also try to incorporate the local ingredients also.
Well, of course. Well, this is definitely, I think they call these, I don't know if it's teriyaki or whatever, but I know a lot of Asian restaurants, like for the parades or whatever, rather than opening their restaurants, they'll actually just put light street food out there and serve from their stand. And this, not chicken chocho, but the skewers with that preparation is something that they all do. But flavor-wise, this is phenomenal and very, very tasty. On itself, like I say, because of the bacon and the marinade, is just really, really tasty. The sauce itself is great. So, but once again, it's not something that you have to have. You can certainly eat these without any tasting of the sauce at all. But it really is, again, very colorful. Easy to eat food, whether you're in a bar or not. But as you see, these are all served on ceramic plates, so we're not putting it out in. Well, is this in a pan? Or is
this is actually a stainless steel
tray.
That's stainless steel tray.
I've seen that start to be used in a lot of some of our dishes. I think it's a great, without going overboard with the china, I think it's a great look and, of course, very easy to eat from.
It's also indestructible, too, so.
Forgot about that part.
That's very important.
I'm not thinking like a restaurateur.
That's very important.
About the customer. Okay, so now I think we've got a couple more apps. So let's see. We're talking to Chef Clayton Kindred of Dmacs, DMAC''S, Bar and Grill on Jefferson Davis, South Jefferson Davis. But I should say that because so you go on the right side of Canal. Only a few blocks off of Canal, like I say, wedged between Banks and Tulane Avenue on the lake side. Very easy to find. So like I say, it's on the corner, a two-story building as you saw in the beginning. There's parking, of course, on Jefferson Davis Parkway, and there's some angled parking on the, what is that side street that cuts between Tulane and your restaurant?
It's Hennecourt. It's kind of an unusual name, but it's D''. Yeah, and it's got a Hennecourt.
Yeah, so there's about 5 or 6 angled parking spots there, but usually there's no trouble finding parking on Jefferson Davis. It's not metered or anything, I don't believe. So
we also have the lot on the other side too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's like, all you have is a neutral ground to go across, and so it's not far at all. All right. Now let's go. Like I say, we do have a few more appetizers for you, I believe, before we move on. So let's take a look and see what's our next one. Oh, no, I was wrong. We're moving into our soup and salad, and what better thing to do than to do a gumbo? Of course, you know there's all types of gumbo. So let's talk to a chef, and I'll put my little 2 cents after. Tell us about your particular gumbo, sir.
Well, this is kind of a blend of the different types of gumbo, the 3 types being roux-based, okra-based, or filet-based. And this has elements of all 3. But it's a real Louisiana seafood gumbo. There's no sausage. It's a Creole style, so it's a blonde roux, not a really dark roux, a butter-based roux. And I make real crab stock. I buy, I get real fresh blue crabs and make my own crab stock. And from there, we render our okra and our trinity down and, use our stock. And then we, thicken it with our roux. And the okra and the roux, are thickening agents. And we also finish it with a little bit of filet at the end. And we use fresh crab meat, and we use fresh crawfish and fresh shrimp.
Absolutely, and this is what I wanted to tell folks. We've gotten accustomed to the gumbo yaya style, which is my favorite gumbo, but on a meat and sausage, where it's just the opposite. It's a dark roux, almost near burning. And we've forgotten all about the true blonde roux. So this is what I wanted to ask him, because I thought, sure, this is first time I've had a blonde roux in a long time. So the flavor was definitely there. Not only that, this is saturated with the condiments, whether it's the crawfish, the crab meat, absolutely loaded. So it's quite filling. Very traditionally done. And like I say, this is closer to more authentic ones than any ones I've tried almost locally in a long time, because more and more the gumbos are leaning going toward the gumbo yaya style, but trying to serve it as a regular gumbo, which is not a problem if you enjoy it. But this is really a real different and back to, I think, original taste. As you notice,
a Creole style, a sophisticated city gumbo that I kind of was raised with this type of thing, where you're getting the ingredients, of course, from across the lake, but the bottom line is it's the technique is more of a traditional French,
Right.
Sophisticated Creole style gumbo as opposed to the dark roux vegetable
Right.
oil based Cajun style.
Right.
So.
As I say, this is the procedure is much more French, I believe, than the gumbo. Yeah. Even though that's also French in some respect with regard to when that preparation. But this is a lot more, I believe, intensive. And once again, nowadays more and more the gumbos, they're getting less and less of the ingredients of meat. So the seafood is getting strictly the stock and hoping to fill you up on rice. This one is loaded to the teeth, and so a hearty thing like this is really not much room for anything else. It's really a full-time entree here. Notice the directors put up our call-in numbers where you're always invited to give us a call here at Restaurant Revue and speak to myself and the chef about his restaurant and anything else we can explain on the show. So if you're out there and you're watching on Wednesday afternoon, don't hesitate to give us a call. But meanwhile, let's go ahead and look. So we moved into the soups. That is his primary soup. We also have some salads. Some of them are side salads. Some of them are entree salads. So we're going to take a look at something I thought was really pretty. I mean, most house salads are just the typical lettuce and a slice of tomato, maybe a slice of cucumber. It's so banal and usually sitting out for all morning wrapped in plastic or worse, loose or dries out. This you have a really colorful, freshly prepared greens. When you see our close-up picture, you'll see what I'm talking about. Let's tell us what's in your house salad, because it's really refreshing to see something different, something real more meaningful for a side salad or a house salad.
Well, we use a spring mix, a fresh spring mix, and we try to obtain what is closely seasonal as possible. You'll have mixes of baby spinach and baby oak and endive, and arugula, and especially we try to incorporate whatever's locally fresh into it. And also there's a little bit of iceberg to cut through it. And the cherry tomatoes that we use are actually grown in my garden at home.
Oh, wow.
And they're grown alongside cayennes and jalapenos, so they have a little bit of spice note to them, when you taste them. But those are actually fresh garden cherry tomatoes.
Excellent.
And a little bit of red onion. And all of our salad dressings are also from scratch, handmade. And this particular dressing is a handmade Italian.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. The dressing was delightful.
Which is, a lot of the Italian dressings you get are dried herbs or they're, bottled. This is a freshly made vinaigrette, but it's also made with freshly picked basil, freshly picked oregano, fresh garlic, red wine vinegar, olive oil, of course, cracked black pepper, kosher salt. But it's a freshly made, no preservatives.
Yeah.
And it goes good with a lot of different types of salads.
Yeah, that's what we wanted to really emphasize. That's why, we're making a big to-do episode of a little house salad, but it is so unusual because of the freshness of not only the ingredients, but also the dressing. So it's not a bottle, it's not a prepared, so you can tell the freshness in both. And look at the color there. What better look than that is the satisfying colors, just peeping out of that plate. So you can get that, as we say, as a small side salad. You can get it, you'll see a little later, as part of an entree, which knocks your sock off. So let's go ahead and move on. I think we're going to actually start moving on to the entrees now, because it's not a big selection of salads. Are there any other salads that I missed?
No, that's basically it.
Okay.
But, as far as the other dressings go, just for example, our ranch dressing is real buttermilk.
Wow.
Real Creole buttermilk dressing. Made from scratch. We use
exactly the way it used to be.
We use the really nice fresh blue cheese. Everything from scratch, so you can really taste it. So the honey mustard, for example, is a blend of 6 different types of mustard and fresh honey. So to give you an idea, is that all these things are from scratch, and you can really taste the difference when you taste it. Exactly.
That's the big taste is when you taste the difference, and you'll see what we're talking about. We're trying to explain it, but it's hard because a lot of people, unfortunately, are going with the masses and follow the traditional stuff that they do, which is moving away again from the freshness. They're buying bottled or some kind of simple preparation. And there's nothing better than making it from scratch. And you'll see that both here, and as I mentioned, both in the preparation of the greens and all the complements, but also in the preparation of the dressings, because mine was just delicious. All right, now I think we're moving into the entrees, and we need to get, This is something that, say, hey, what is this? These are tacos, fish tacos, is that right?
Absolutely, yes.
And this is standardly on the menu, or is that one of the special?
Friday special.
Friday special, okay.
Yes, sir.
Let's talk about that one, please.
Well, we try to use trout, seasonal whitefish, whatever's available at the time. Right now it's drum, happens to be puppy drum, but it's usually speckled trout or puppy drum or that type of fish, depending on availability and seasonal. And it's
hopefully not tilapia.
Right. Tilapia once in a while when it's available, when it's fresh.
Okay. So
we don't use anything frozen, of course. So
yeah.
But there's nothing wrong with tilapia too when it's freshly done.
I have a little opposite on that, but definitely you could taste the freshness of this fish. It was just phenomenal.
Right. As long as it's freshly done, I mean, it's the variety is.
Go ahead and tell us
seasonal.
what are the ingredients in the taco besides the fish?
Well, the taco itself, I mean, the way we fry is very light. It has a real light mustard wash, and it goes from there right into a yellow corn flour, not the meal, so it doesn't have that grit in between your teeth and that type of thing. It's very, very subtle, and it's finished with it's a Cholula-based, ensemble-based hot sauce, or mayonnaise, and fresh green onions. It's very simple, basically. We have our tortillas made locally for us.
Good.
And which makes them real nice.
Right.
The coleslaw is hand cut.
Yeah,
you'll see that on top, and that's actually Napa cabbage.
Right.
Which most people don't. It's more of a kind of relative of bok choy, and fresh red cabbage and red bell peppers, and it's more of a horseradish Creole mustard base, which is kind of a savory type of based coleslaw.
Yeah.
Not too heavy on the mayonnaise type situation.
Yeah, which is great. And moving away from but
and then
also
the French fries are. So I'm sorry to cut, but French fries. We're very proud of our French fries because they're actually properly done for hand cuts, which can be rare these days. And they're Kennebec potatoes, which is just a type of potato, very thin, white-skinned potato, but very delicious. And they're properly cut and washed and blanched, and then cooled down and dried, and then refried at the proper temperature. So they're very crisp and delicious, So
yeah.
But those are hand cut every day, also.
But I wholeheartedly recommend that coleslaw because I think he serves it as a separate salad as well because it really is delicious. It's nowhere near the mayonnaise based, and there's just so many different ingredients in it, and so fresh and flavorful that it really constitutes a dish in itself. So I think it certainly deserves note not only as a side, but maybe even as a special, a side salad or a house salad.
And also the way people eat it, they put a little coleslaw on the taco itself.
Someone put it on the taco, I'm sure.
That's kind of the traditional California style of eating the fish taco. So.
Okay, let's move on. So we don't think we're just serving tacos. We've got quite a variety here, which is impressive for a bar. So let's see what we have next for our grill. I think we have we talked about we saw that just finishing about the house salad, how pretty. This is actually a steak salad with really delicious cut of steak, once again with those magnificent fresh greens. And well, tell us about it quickly so we can move on.
Well, it's like what I like to call the New Orleans strip. It's basically we hand cut our own steaks. And the preparation is basically pretty simple because we use like I said, freshly cut meat. None of it's been frozen or cryovac or that kind of thing. We cut them fresh, and then it's kosher salt, cracked pepper, a little bit of garlic butter, and grilled to order.
Yeah, real basic,
simple, but at a high level.
But simple but delicious. So really, and then the addition of that fresh salad really brought it up a notch. I had a diner who was a steak lover, and he just fell in love with this particular dish. And in fact, when we taken some of the homes, he got it mixed up and wanted to take this home. He only ate a couple of slices so he'd have for dinner, and unfortunately, he didn't get it to take it home. But what he ate, I know I just tried a slice because I try all of these dishes so I can put my little 2 cents in here. Was really well, just lovely prepared. You could tell it was a fresh steak, and once again, accompanied by that beautiful salad. Okay, well, let's move on because we want to show a little bit more exotic stuff. I think we have, let's see what's coming up next. Okay, this is, not so exotic, but unusual preparation. As we move toward barbecue, we talked about some of the trends of barbecue and some of this is kind of the brisket, but done on his own Texas toast. Let's talk about this quickly, because I think we got one more before we go back to our musician.
Well, basically, I have deep Texas roots also, and this is more of a real Texas slow smoked. I have a smoker out back, And this is slow smoked brisket, dry rub for 2 days in advance. We use certified Angus, whole briskets with the cap on, and slow smoke them. It's about 8 hours, and then finish them out in the oven and served on Texas toast, which is traditional, of course, across the Sabine River there. And it also serves with our coleslaw traditionally and our French fries.
Right. That would be
but we hand grill the toast to order, and it's just really good. It's a slow cooked item, and it respects both my bosses, my partners, and ours. Dual route, so to speak.
Got it. And it's not just that, we're finally getting respectable barbecue in New Orleans. We've had traditionally just the lathered on over sweet sauce that is nauseating.
Well, this is actually served with no sauce.
Right. And
this is actually real smoked brisket where you don't need the sauce.
The smoked and the dry rub are the true ways to tell the taste of meat as opposed to covering up with some sweet sauce. So I think you're going to enjoy this. Very much so. Okay, I think we have one more entree. I hope before we finish, let's see if we go quickly to the next one. No? Well, this is really, this serves a dual purpose. The New Orleans famous red beans, which you can get as a cup, I would consider a soup, but maybe not, or here as the entree. And this is also one of the daily specials. Tell us about it, Chef, please.
This is also an essence of New Orleans, which is like the gumbo. It's a meal unto itself. But this is real New Orleans red beans, which are cooked with full ham shanks and smoked sausage and the Trinity. And, of course, we use the red beans that are slow soaked, overnight. And then the beans are slow cooked in stages. And we cook them with the whole smoked ham shank. And then after the cooking process is down, we take the meat off the bone. And so it's a real traditional red bean and a New Orleans Creole style, not overly creamy. So you have nice whole beans in there and pieces and New Orleans tradition.
Yeah, you can see loaded to the gill, not only with beans but also the. I'm sorry, you went quickly. What type of seasoning did you use in it? Because it was just really delicious.
Well, and also we actually have our own seasoning, Creole seasoning blend.
Meat seasonings.
But meat seasoning, I'm sorry.
It does
have a smoked ham shank.
Smoked ham shank.
And we don't use hocks. We actually use the entire shank.
There you go. And that is the traditional home-style way. I mean, we've gotten so sophisticated. We love sausage and stuff, which is nothing wrong with all those. But the original taste in most homes had that big old ham shank bone, and where the ham is going, and that was your true flavor of your beans. And we've gotten away from that a little bit. Not that there's anything wrong with the new way, but I'm telling you, once again, we're looking at the authentic home-style version. All right, let's see. Do we have one more entree, or was that the last? Do we go back to, here we go. I think this is the last one we're showing, even though there's a lot more on the menu. And this is, once again, that's just a sandwich. We call this you can get a seafood stacker, I believe, but this might have been oyster. Tell us what this particular, it is a sandwich. Go ahead and tell us about it.
It's fairly simple. This is an oyster stacker. It's fresh Louisiana oysters, premium Louisiana oysters, and once again, very lightly fried in a corn flour, dusted very lightly, with a little bit of Creole seasoning. And the oysters themselves are so fresh; they speak for themselves. But it's on a lightly buttered brioche, and it's a French-style brioche bun that's made exclusively for us by a local bakery, and it's simple, but I think it's at a very high level as far as just the beauty of the goodness, the way the bread is baked, and the way the oysters are lightly fried and they're locally fresh. And we also serve that with a remoulade, which seems to go with it, and a little bit of the salad. Right. And but this is pretty much a little bit different take on the po' boy. I mean, there's a lot of po' boys in town, but this bread is phenomenal, and that with the fresh oysters, you can really taste the essence of
I totally concur. Everybody loves French oyster po' boys, and I really normally don't. This I enjoy, and I think the softness of the bread, the delicacy of the bread, really allows you to feature the oyster instead of the opposite way around on a po' boy French bread. So really enjoyed this, and normally do not get an oyster po' boy for that reason. So this is one of my favorites. So I think we are running short of time because the chef's done a great job here. Like I say, he's got a lot more on the menu. If we have a little bit more time at the end, we'll mention a couple of others. But we need to go back and have a look and a listen to Ashley Beach, and then we'll pick it up after she finishes her second song.
The song is entitled Before You Were Born.
Okay, that was unfortunately the truncated version of Ashley Beach. That song just goes on for much longer than our time allows. So we had to give you just an excerpt, but we're going to give you a normal 3 to 4, 5 minute venue of her one more time at the end of the show. So we apologize for that, but appreciate your understanding, especially because we have more to tell you. We're going to recap real quickly. We're talking about Dmacs, D-M-A-C''S Bar and Grill at 542 South Jefferson Davis Parkway, in between Banks and Tulane, right off in the corner of Dehemicourt. It's a 2-story lovely building that the chef and his owner have renovated and brought it up to standard, serving food at lunch and dinner and sometimes late at night because of some of the things that go on there, which we'll talk about, these special events. And chef's name, of course, I skipped that, but it's Clayton Kendrick, a local native, and doing very well, explaining some of the great food he's putting out. So now we're going to talk a little bit about, we always cover a little bit about beverages, and what better place to know that you're going to get anything you want is to be at a full-service bar as opposed to a restaurant that may or may not have an abridged. Tell us briefly all the different things that we can get something for the adult beverage.
Well, as is being discussed, I mean, we are a full-service bar. We're basically going almost 24 hours a day now, 7 days a week. And one of our emphasis is on some of the more traditional cocktails from New Orleans, kind of going back to all the way back to the 20s and 30s. Some of the traditional New Orleans cocktails and some of the drinks from the last few decades. And
because too many are going with strictly all the trendy stuff. Not that you don't do that, but at the same time, I think it's good to kind of parallel to what cooking you're doing to your beverage. Why not, if we're going to be bringing the authentic style back in some of these recipes, why not match it with the drinks that were served during that period, as opposed to today's speciality of infusing everything with everything. That's what I call it. But obviously, you have cocktails, wines, and beers. Anything on that?
And then the wine menu actually is I'm really into the wine too, and I have a local purveyor that we've worked very closely with, and the wine list is very well thought out as far as a lot of work and tasting has gone into this wine list, and it's not your normal wine list, and to say the least, and a lot of French wines, and a few Californians.
Okay.
And but an unusual wine list for a bar, to say the least.
Well, that's right. Right away, I thought you were going to say California as being your priority, which is today's. So by putting French on it right away, once again, you're paralleling your food and your prep, and I think it's a great idea because too many of our bars have gotten rid of some of the best wines in the world to emphasize that United States wine. So that's great. So there you go, good variety of French and California. Now, what about beers, local, international, domestic?
A lot of local beers on tap.
Okay.
And we can leave it at that. There's several breweries that we kind of rotate in and out.
Good.
And several of the seasonal varieties, of course.
Great.
And there's some good new breweries out there now across the lake and in the area.
Yeah.
And some in town, actually. So, we give those a try. And the in-state kind of a small house brewing companies are really big right now. So keep a variety of those micro beers in stock.
Okay, so there you go. You totally covered there, so we don't have anything to worry about. Now let's talk about desserts. Now here's the situation where he has the least of, and that is dessert. But if you got a knockout dessert, something very unusual, that's more than enough. Because again, what we're saying is most of these portions and the quality and quantity of the ingredients of the food is quite filling. I had just a brief little taste of dessert because I had absolutely no room. So why don't we tell us about the one dessert that you have while we take a look at it, and then we'll talk about special events. So let's tell us what we got here, Chef.
Well, this is a fresh banana brownie burrito. And of course, fresh banana that has a homemade iced pecan brownie surrounding it on the inside.
Right, that's stuffed inside the shell.
Inside the shell, and then what happens is that it's wrapped in a flour tortilla and lightly fried. And then what happens is that the chocolate icing and brownie pecans melt around the banana on the inside, and that comes out hot. And then it's also served with either a homemade vanilla or a vanilla bean style ice cream, depending on what's available at the time. And usually some type of a sauce, whether it might be a praline sausage, which I'm really going to now, and powdered sugar. But simple, but yet really.
It's just stand out with regard to the typical old ideas, like maybe a hot apple pie with the cold ice cream. It's the same concept, but with using, the chocolate, and so the flavors there are just really outstanding. So if you need a dessert, this is a perfect one. It really is, because the hot and cold really do a great job. And it's more than filling. Sweet enough with the banana. Everybody loves a sweet banana as part of dessert.
Usually enough for 2 people, basically.
Oh, more than enough. Okay, real quickly, Chef, we're talking about Dmacs Grill. He's got a lot of events because of being a bar, and some of that adds to the food. So let's talk about those real quick in the remaining minutes. Obviously, you have music. Tell us about your music.
Well, the music is really
and live music. I'm talking about.
There's been live music at this particular location for a long time, and what we're doing now is once again, to match our food, is to have a really authentic, professional, authentic New Orleans style venue for live music. On Monday nights we have a blues jam, and it is being populated by really well-known local musicians. Come in and sit in for a couple sets or a couple songs, and it really is nice. On Tuesday, we have
excuse me, Chef, about when does that start in time?
And what happens is that we're starting this pretty early, between 7 and 8, so that...
Oh, really?
Which is really important, because we want the local professional people to come.
Good.
As opposed to a lot of venues start at 11 or 12 at night.
Right, much later. So that's great. So you can still really having a normal meal as opposed to just scraps or whatever. So you can dine and have some local talent entertaining you.
You can come in, and we're very busy food-wise at that time, but you can come in and have a really good meal. And the music starts each night between 7 and 8, and then get home at a reasonable hour and have a good dinner and get home at a reasonable time.
If you're not a bar hopper, that's for us old folk. That's the perfect. So now, what nights do you actually have the live music? Because we're running real short here on time.
We actually have it. Now it's going to be 6 nights a week.
Okay.
Monday through Saturday, and the Tuesday.
You're starting
I
something new.
wanted to mention, because it's we have some famous. Actually, record producer executives who are conducting a talent search, and we're getting some local people. We want all the local musicians that think they have a little bit of talent and would like to try it out to come in and see us on Tuesday nights.
So it's like a talent search on Tuesday nights,
but with the real music executives there.
And what time does that start? Because I really got to.
And that starts at 7 o'clock.
7 o'clock. So you can contact, not necessarily Chef, but Dmacs Bar and Grill. And set that up. When is that starting? What Tuesday? Next Tuesday?
It started this Tuesday, and it's going on until
So get
September.
your name on the list so you can get in on a particular night and have the people listen to you as well. But that is open to the public as well. You don't shut down just for that, right?
No, it's absolutely open to the public.
Thanks again to Chef Clayton Kendrick of Dmacs Bar and Grill. We got to run. We'll see you at the restaurants. Take care. Have a good summer.
There's something that I missed, holding me back, beats coming up around the bend, again and again and again. still why am I? Knowing seems only moments away every day, every day. But good vibrations come in.